Can I say thank you?
Oh, yeah.
Welcome to the
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, this is also interesting for interview people too, because
Yeah.
I don't come from a new state. It's easy. I think that's making
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, Tony Gomez.
Tony!
Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. For those of you that don't know, my name is Tony Gomez. Before we begin, we want to appreciate the time that you've taken to be here with us tonight. There are several things you could be doing right now, so we appreciate you for taking the time. Whether you are a friend, so again, thank you for coming tonight. Whether you're a friend coming to support someone, a client coming to review the ideas we have shared, or looking to help us with the growth of our company. Tonight, you're going to hear from 3 speakers. Our first speaker is going to be Robin Sears. She's going to introduce a problem that is happening out there right now, and other problems that is happening with families that we know. Second speaker is Wade Spelsky. He's going to talk about the solution that we put together. Not only do we feel it is needed, but vital right now. After, Brett Sears will talk about the problem and solution. He can talk to you about the opportunities we have in front of us. Once again, thank you all for being here tonight. Please help me welcome Robin Sears.
We're trying to get this right. We would think the week after week I would finally get this thing right? Let's see. Yes. Okay. So we were saying, thank you, Tony, and again, thank you all for coming here. I was actually just talking with Richard and Daniel about a little bit about what we're doing here tonight. And really, tonight, as Tony mentioned, is about being able to just share a high-level overview of what whoever invited you here tonight is really decided to dedicate their life to. Because what we know is the more people in our world who know what we're doing, who understand the problem, who learn about the solution, the more likely we are to actually be able to impact different families' lives. So when the group of us sat around and said, okay, what kind of an impact are we going to have? We took a look at the world. And we said, there are ways that you can cut up the world. And at the top, we have the wealthy. We're all interested in being part of the wealthy? Yeah, big hands. Okay. So what do the wealthy have? Why do we want to be part of the wealthy? We want to be part of the wealthy because wealthy people have access to lots of things. They have access to education. They have access to opportunities and ownership. They have access to financial freedom and financial guidance. And what this all comes down to is money, right? They have access to money. But money translates into really interesting things. Money translates into institutionalized support for the family. It translates into an institutionalized history of what the family does. So Richard was saying, Richard is a tax accountant, yes? And Richard's grandma was a tax accountant, which is really interesting because my grandma was a lawyer. I became a lawyer. So Richard has a long line of family members who were tax accountants, and he's now bringing his nephew, Daniel, into the fold. That's the same thing that happens at the top for wealthy people. There's a long line of institutionalized support that wealthy people provide for their families. So that when they get up in the morning, they don't even think about whether they're going to go to college or how they're going to pay for it. They're just going to do it, right? They don't think about, am I going to be an employee or am I going to own a business? They get to just do it. That is financial freedom. And that's what wealthy people have access to. And then in this great country of ours, there are folks at the bottom that we call the not so wealthy. And in this country, we as a society have dedicated ourselves to support people at the bottom, people who are really dependent from a wealthy perspective on the state. And we provide free preschool and college grants and financial support and hundreds of nonprofits in order to support the folks at the bottom. So the folks at the top have access to the tools and resources they need because they have money. And the folks at the bottom have access to the tools and resources that they can take advantage of because they're a group of people who want to make an impact here. And so that leaves this really big hole. And what is this hole? We call this hole Main Street families. And I've been thinking about that word because last week I was talking with Adrian, who's not here tonight, about the Spanish translation for Main Street families. Because there really isn't a very good translation. The direct translation we got to was families of an important street. Not exactly what we think of when we think of Main Street families, right? I call Main Street families everybody else. I call Main Street families you and me. Main Street family is any family that's living paycheck to paycheck. They may be saving a little bit of money, but they're not saving enough money. And in most cases, they don't have a plan in place that allows them to get to the kind of financial freedom that we talked about. So whether that's a single mom or dad who's a teacher making $40,000, $50,000 a year, or a dual income family living in Stevenson Ranch making $250,000 a year. Those folks both have a car payment. They often both have a mortgage. My husband says the other folks are just a better shade of broke because they're paying for the Lexus instead of the Honda. At the end of the day, Main Street families account for over 70 million families in America. That's a lot of people. That's you and me and our neighbors and our sisters and our brothers and our community. And what's happening here? How many of us know folks with young kids who want their kids to go to preschool? There are a number of us in the room who have young kids. For those who don't know, we just had twins. They're 6 months old. And we're going to be preparing for them to go to preschool. Preschool costs a lot of money, even with the twin discount. And so my friends are talking to each other and saying, well, we think that maybe we can go 3 days a week instead of 5 days a week, right? Or maybe we can do 2 days a week of preschool and 2 days a week of gymnastics. And we're negotiating this because we know that preschool is critical to development. We know that. That's why we do it for free for everybody else, right? For the folks down here. But up here, we make too much money to qualify for free preschool and often not enough for it to be an easy afterthought. Absolutely, we're doing 5 days a week. All right? How many of us start to think about, well, I think I can do 3 days, right? How many of us know somebody who thinks that way? How many of us know someone who wants their kids to go to college or has kids in college? We certainly know how much that one costs, right? A whole lot of money. And again, what we're finding is there's a whole group of people who make too much money to qualify for the grants and not enough money to pay for the colleges that their kids are getting into, right? So how many of us know someone whose kid wanted to go to UCLA, got into UCLA, wanted to go to Stanford, got into Stanford, and wasn't able to pay for it? How about ownership? Can you think of someone in your life that you know who wants to own a business? Think of someone in your life who sits in an office or who sits in a retail store and thinks, I could totally do this. I'm so much better than my boss. I could totally own this business. But I don't have access to the capital in order to do it. Right? How many of us are thinking of someone who says, God, I would love to own. I would totally own. But I don't even know where to start, and I don't have the money to do it. And financial advisors, financial advice. How many people do we know who don't have a plan, a financial plan for their future? I see a lot of heads nodding. Do you know what I call no plan? A really bad plan. That's what that is. So we're talking about who do we know? And at the end of the day, how many of us thought, wait, that's me, and that's me, and that's me, and that's me too. See, this is a problem that we talk about affecting 70 million families out there. The reason we're in here to talk about it is because it's a problem that's affecting everyone in here in America. You can't all see each other, but every one of you at one of these points started nodding your head. That's a travesty. And so we started to say, why is this? What's so different between us and the folks at the top? And the real difference is access. We simply don't have access to the tools and resources that other folks have access to. Because if we did, we would have choice. At the end of the day, for me, for the people in this room, this isn't about making someone go to preschool, or making someone go to college, or making someone own a business, or making someone see a financial advisor. This is about the fact that every person in here and every person out there deserves the option to have access to those things. And right now we don't have that option. Because who do we turn to? The banks, the lenders, life insurance company, and corporate America. Well, how many of us think the banks are here to get us rich? No, no hands. How about the lenders? They're absolutely here to get us out of debt. No? Right? Insurance companies, they want to protect us forever. Corporate America, here to make us rich? No. And so the very institutions that were taught as kids to protect us, we don't trust. And they're not trustworthy. They've shown that over the last 5-10 years, right? So nothing's changing and the problem's getting worse. Well, I often stand up here and think, how can I bring this problem to light in a meaningful way? And I was reading an article today. Some of you might know this. Disneyland raised their ticket prices this year to $105 a day. $105 for one ticket, right? To go to Disneyland. Can you imagine a family of 4? Who can afford to go to Disneyland? Right? I mean, we're not talking, you know, some 5-star hotel in Paris. We're talking Disneyland. And it's not changing. It's only getting worse because our salaries as a whole did not increase at the same rate that the tickets at Disneyland have increased. So this problem's real, right? It's a question of whether Cindy can take her boys to Disneyland once a year. That's insane. Forget about eating. We're talking about Disneyland. And so on that level, we can talk about Disneyland. But what it comes down to is the problem's only real when it hits us. Like I saw some faces when I said Disneyland was $105. I was like, oh my goodness, oh. Well, yeah. Well, that's like a week of my salary for a month. So what does that mean for our savings? What does that mean when we lose our job and we're not prepared? There's a huge problem in this country. 70 million families are stuck and they don't know it. 70 million families. Hundreds of families who want to go to Disneyland tomorrow, right? And Disneyland's just an example, right, of what we're really talking about here. Families who want to send their kids to preschool, families who want to be able to start a business, families who want to make sure that they're okay when the floor falls out from under them. Those families are us. It's not just out there. It's in here. So it is real. And we see it every day. We see it when we go to get gas. We see it when we go to buy formula. $40 for formula. I have twins. That's bad, right? And so we said, so what do we do about it? Because a group of people in here who invited you here today says, this is not okay. We need to do something. We need to provide an opportunity for folks to have a choice for it to be different. Not that it has to be different, but we all deserve the option, the possibility for it to be different. That's what tonight is about. And so now I'm going to invite Wade Skolsky, I like to say the great Wade Skolsky, to come up and to share with you the solution that we have to providing the options that we all deserve every day in our lives, in our communities, to really make a difference for us and for the world.
You can go, that's my name. Wade is fine.
Wade.
How's everybody doing? Good? Good. Robin is I don't feel bad for her because she's brilliant at everything she does. So I would never say I feel bad for her. But I do empathize with her because she has a tough job. She has to get up here and be like, the culture is failing us, right? Like that's a heavy message. But I don't know. I don't have to do that. I get to be like, we're not big feet. All right. So we talk a lot about access in here. We have a culture of access here. All right. And the reason is because what we determined was the difference between the wealthy and the Main Street families and what we like to call the not so wealthy has nothing to do with intelligence. Study after study after study says that it's not intelligence. It's basically certain lessons that are learned, skills, grit, and passion, right? The problem is that we're not passing the right money skills to the Main Street families or to the not so wealthy because everyone's just kind of fending for themselves. And so then what happens is that we do what our parents do. So I grew up on a farm in North Dakota. My dad did not go to college. My mom did not go to college. I'm the first in my family to go to college. But all of my money skills were basically what my dad did, which is very blue collar. He would work really hard during the week. He would drink beer on the weekends, and then he would do it again, right? And that's fun. There's nothing wrong with that. But there wasn't a lot of discussion about retirement. There wasn't a lot of discussion about what to do with your money that we worked so hard for. So I wasn't really good at tracking it, right? Because I was in a culture that didn't teach me anything about money, right? Not only does the Main Street culture not teach us anything, my family didn't teach us anything about money. Because frankly, they didn't know, they were just doing what their family did, right? So what we said is like, look, let's look at who is successful with money because money success is a skill that can be learned. It has nothing to do with intelligence. People that are wealthy aren't smarter than us. They just have the right skill set to deal with money and business. So let's talk a little bit about, well, what do the wealthy do? Well, the first thing they do is they lock in advances for their family. What does this mean? Everyone's heard of like a trust fund baby or a silver spoon in the mouth or whatever. It's that when someone is successful in making money, they have access to professionals who help them keep their money and help them pass their money on to their children. So if someone's hit by a bus, scored by a javelina, struck by lightning, there's a trust that kicks into place, it's a legal instrument that then protects the money from taxes, it protects the money from the government, it protects the money from relatives stealing it, and it goes to the children. So what they do is they lock in advances so that if I build a successful business or I somehow create wealth, my kids don't have to start over, all right? The wealthy, what they also do is they develop habits. They understand that, look, these problems are not immediate problems. Retirement for everyone is some distance away, okay? So by the time that we hit retirement, it's almost too late sometimes because it's not an immediate problem. So we don't have to develop the habits to basically have to deal with it because we're not thinking about it, it's in the future. The wealthy understand that we have to develop habits today if sending our kids to college 18 years from now, if we don't have kids yet. We have to develop habits today to be able to handle retirement, no matter if it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. It's the habits today that solve a long-term problem. Does that make sense? So because money, it's not like I go out and if I spend too much money at the mall, like my house blows up, right? Nobody would do it then and we'd all be fine. That's not what happens. The problem is far away. The wealthy understand that. And so they develop immediate habits for long-term problems. Okay. The other thing they do is they leverage experts. Richard, you are deal with tax. You're like a tax preparer, tax accountant, right? I'm so happy you're here because I use this example every week, and everyone looks at me like I'm an alien, right? So my brother does his own taxes, And I say, why do you do that, right? He doesn't know anything about the tax system. He spends days working on his taxes, right? It would probably take you 5 minutes to do my brother's taxes, right? And whatever he paid you, he would make back in the amount of time that he saved himself. But he doesn't think that way, right? I have a tax guy. I know I'm not smart enough to figure out taxes. This is what the expert, or this is what the wealthy do. They figure out, okay, where am I weak, right? What am I doing? Where am I weak? I don't have to get good at everything. I just have to know people who are good at that and leverage them, all right? And it's hard to teach people that because it's a learned skill. I have a friend, I'm also an attorney. Don't hold that against me. We met 2 of us already, we're all okay. I have a friend of mine who just completed a book, right? He wrote a novel, right? And he hired an editor to help him with the grammar and the sentences and the syntax and all of that of the novel, right? Well, he's leveraging an expert to help him with stuff that he's not good at. What most people would do is they would spend a year writing the novel, and then they would try to edit it themselves, and then they don't have the energy for it. Does that make sense? The wealthy understand that. They're like, we're gonna build our creative sense wherever we are, and then whatever I'm weak at, I'm gonna leverage an expert. And that's how they accomplish things quickly, and so they accomplish them much better than maybe if people try to do everything ourselves, because we gotta, pull us up by our bootstraps, which is something that we're taught. The other thing they do is they cultivate strategic partnerships. Look, people become successful by working together. The whole concept of the person did it themselves is a lie. And if you show me, I will challenge anyone in this room, come up to you after the meeting and say, well, Oprah's successful. Oprah herself says that there's 6 to 12 relationships in her life that helped her get to where she is. Every single person that's ever done anything must leverage and cooperate with other people. Why? Because we all have the same amount of time. We only have 24 hours in the day. So you can max yourself out and you can work 18 hours a day and you're gonna achieve some level of success and some level of income, but you cannot expand your income past that unless you can get others to cooperate with you. Experts understand that, so they're constantly cultivating strategic partnerships. They understand that we can accomplish more together than we can apart, right? And so in this room, we're doing this right now in this room, is that we're like, look, we want to get to where the wealthy are, and we understand that we can accomplish more together than we can apart. And what starts with what I'm talking about is just learning some of these very simple rules, right? Well, how do we bring those to the Main Street families? Because look, I don't have an access to like the top of the top lawyers who do trust funds. I don't have access to Oprah's Rolodex that she can just call someone up and anything she wants to do, she can make happen, okay? But we do have access to people in the Main Street that are there for us. There's a company that's called Primerica, that's the sign on the building. This is one of our partners. They've been around since 1977 and have $3 billion in cash. The reason why this is important is that if we're gonna pick a partner, we wanna make sure it's someone that's been around for a long time and that has enough money to weather the storm, right? 30, 40 years for $3 billion, I think we're okay, all right? So we leverage them as a partner because they have a track record of delivering for Main Street families. The needs of Main Street families are different than the financial needs of the wealthy, all right? If you look at the wealthy, they have, if you're on a scale of 1 to 10 and the wealthy people are at like 9 and 10, those types of like high level needs, right? Well, we're just starting out in the Main Street. We don't need all of that stuff. What we need is what can we do with what we have now to build to those levels. That's why we need a company like Primerica that can help us and service our needs because nobody else is, right? Robin did that chart where she said there's the wealthy up here, the not so wealthy up here, and the Main Street families in the middle. If you think about our system, the Main Street families, the 70 million families in the middle, they pay the taxes that help fund the people down here, and they buy the services and products that help keep the wealthy up here. The middle class purpose is basically to keep the wealthy wealthy and help the not so wealthy not fall down deep into poverty, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but we have to understand that if we're in that middle area, that's our job in the system. We want to move out of the middle area, okay? I don't want to stay there my whole life. I'd much rather be in the middle than down here, but now how do we start to move up here? Well, we start to leverage these tools, and one of the tools is a partnership with Primerica. Now, so let's talk about a little bit specifically how that's done. Well, okay, so I don't have $4 million that I have to do a trust fund for, right? I don't have it. But what I do have is that if I have a family and something happens to me, they're still going to slide back to have to repeat everything that we've done. Okay, so my wife, she's a creative person. She works in the creative field, and if something happened to me, and we weren't protected, she would have to stop working in the creative field and go into something where she can support herself because it's so up and down, right? So, but we have something that's called level term insurance. Basically, I have life insurance to where if something happens to me, my wife gets a big chunk of cash and her life doesn't change other than the fact she doesn't have to put up with me, right? So, but the rest of her life, she's not slide backwards. And if we had kids, right, then they wouldn't have to start over in their life either because nothing changes. So it's a tool that we can use to mimic the wealthy so that whatever advances I make, if something happens to me, if I have kids, my kids aren't starting over, all right? The second tool is the idea of developing habits. So with money, we're talking about money, let's talk about money habits. There's something that's called a mutual fund, right? A mutual fund is the concept is we just save money every single month and over time we'll have more money at the end than we do when we begin. All right? And the reason why we start with mutual funds is because you can open up a mutual fund for $50 a month, right? Here's a fact. When you were 18 years old, you saved $100 a month. That's it. You never increased it more than $100 a month. You'd have well over $1 million at 65. I know for a fact that every month since I've been 18, I have wasted $100 if I hadn't, right? That is a piece of information that a simple habit could make an 18-year-old a millionaire when they're 65. And the way to do that is to make it automatic. Just say like, look, $100 comes out of your account every month and you don't even think about it, you're a millionaire when you're 65. That simple piece of information can change a kid's life forever. The third thing is leverage experts. Besides getting accountants, which I have a good one, right? There's this idea of managed accounts. Look, has everybody noticed the market's melting down this week, right? It's all we hear. Everyone's like, oh, China's falling apart and everything's going crazy, right? Well, all of us have things that we're doing right now, and so we don't have the time to become a financial expert, all right? I have a business. I have all this stuff. I've got to, do whatever it is I got to do, and you've got to do whatever it is that you do. You don't have time to keep on top of what's happening in China, all right? Why is this important? Because once you get enough money in your mutual funds that it starts to become a substantial amount of money, you want someone looking at your money every single day. Just like we have an accountant looking at our taxes every year, we need someone looking at our money every day. That's what managed accounts is. It's like a boat on the ocean. The wind comes in, the managed account people go, oh, there's a storm coming. They take the boat, they pick it up, they move it to a different place, right? We don't have to know all that. We can leverage an expert to protect the money that we work so hard for and not be afraid of that concept because that's what the wealthy do, right? A mistake that some people make is they make a bunch of money and then they're like, I'm afraid to do anything with it because I don't want to lose it. Because we know how hard it is to work for it, right? I have my own business. I still get out every single day. There are some days it's good. There's some days it's bad. And if I have the mindset of just trying to protect it, then I get into problems because I try to figure it out myself. I'm not an expert on money. So let's leverage the experts and let them handle it. People that have been doing it and managed billions of dollars and have a really good track record. And then the fourth thing is like, look, cultivate strategic partnerships. This is my favorite one out of all of these four because this is the most fun because this one actually is personal, okay? Locking in advances for your family, life insurance in personal. Developing habits, right? That's something that I do for myself, right? In terms of like the family or whatever. Leveraging experts, I'm going to somebody else. But cultivating strategic partnerships is the idea of a team, okay? You have a team of people around you. Now look, it's not like we're all going and drinking beers together all the time or whatever, although we should, right? That's the North Dakota farm boy coming out of me, right? But the issue is like, look, is I want to spend my life cultivating a group of people that go to bat for me and I go to bat for them. So when things are good, we can go faster. When things are troubling, we can get out of trouble faster, right? And the concept is that we use Primerica, which is a giant billion-dollar company. We use their services and products so we don't have to spend any time figuring that stuff out. Just like I don't have to spend any time figuring out my taxes. When Richard, you're doing my taxes, I don't have to figure out any of the other money stuff because Primerica has that handled. But the most important one is our advocates, right? There are people that are with us that don't have to do the business, but they have to know what we're doing and support what we're doing. So when they run across someone that says, I don't know what to do with my money, they say, there's a group of people that you have to go talk to because their mission in life is making sure that you have the information that the wealthy have. That's all our mission in life is. Our mission in life is to make sure that we all have the same advantages that the wealthy have. That's it. Because look, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room to be successful. You just have to have grit, passion, and the right skills. And these skills can be learned. In 10 minutes, I just showed you guys how to make an 18-year-old a millionaire when he's 65. What do you think we can do when we start developing these strategic partnerships on purpose together with a large group of people? There's nothing we can't accomplish. And that's all the wealthy do, right? We're not precluded from entering from the Main Street families into that wealthy sphere because we're not smart enough, or because we weren't born in the right family, or because I grew up in North Dakota, right? And nobody likes people from North Dakota. It has nothing to do with that. The better we get at developing the strategic partnerships, with working together, where we can accomplish more together than we can apart, and mastering these skills, there's nothing we can't accomplish together. And that's when we talk about access to the information. That's all it is that we're talking about. It's not talking about access to, you have to be the smart person. It's not talking about access to, you have to have access to $10 million. You know, Steve Martin has a joke. He's like, I'll show you how to turn $1 million into 10 million. Step number one, have $1 million, right? That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about simple, learnable skills that we work together on to try to advance together as much as we can. And that's it. And I get fired up about this talk because Robin identifies a problem, right? And that's a problem that hits all of us. And that problem is just because our parents don't teach us it, because our parents don't know it. And the culture doesn't teach us this because the culture doesn't want us to know it, because we have to help them up there and help them down here. I'm not on board for that plan, okay? That's not what we do. We're on board for a different plan. And so that's what we can do in terms of changing a family tree from 1 to 2 generations, 2 to 3 generations, okay? That means that your grandkids get to be wealthy, right? Now some of us are like, oh my God, my grandkids get to be wealthy. Well, that's pretty cool, because your grandkids get to be wealthy. Because if your grandparents did this, you'd be wealthy right now. So if you do this consistently, and you teach it to your kids, and they teach it to your kids, there'll be a painting of you above the fireplace, right? And that's a legacy, right? And for some people, that's a legacy, and that's enough. Brett Sears is going to come up and talk to you, though, about some options that maybe we can kind of short-circuit that plan out a little bit. All right, so everybody, the awesome Brett Sears.
How you guys doing?
Great.
So I'm incredibly excited. It's funny, I was watching, and we talk about this, like, teaching philosophy, right? We teach our family and all this stuff. And I watched something very interesting with Wayne. Robin did it too. So this is a Bluetooth Wi-Fi remote. It's a phone that's connected to the computer and stuff like that. But if you watch both of them, what they did was they took it and they pointed it at the projector. Okay, now pointing it at the projector, I'm not making fun of them. Pointing with the projector doesn't do anything. But it's interesting because Tony didn't point at the projector. Tony hit the button. Why? Because as kids, right, how many of you have a remote control at home that you have to point it at the TV at the exact place that you need to in order to change anything? Right? Now, how many of you have the cool ones where you can point it anywhere and it's on the infrared and it changes the channel no matter what, which is really cool, except if it falls between the cushions of the couch and all of a sudden it starts changing. You guys all know what I'm talking about? See, my kids don't understand this action, because they have remotes that they can change it from anywhere, right? They never have to be taught, but it's funny because I watch them do this. I'm like, what are you doing? They're like, I don't know, but I watch you do it. Like I still, you guys aren't excited about that, right? We pick up different things, right? It's just that technology is changing, opportunities are changing, but our habits a lot of the times don't. And the reason that we're here today and the reason that we're doing this is if somebody doesn't stand up in the middle of the gap and say that it doesn't have to be like this anymore, it's never going to change. Right? We're in the middle of the presidential election. I have no idea how we're in the middle of it because it's a year and 3 months away, but it's already started, right? It's one of those things. Pretty soon Halloween's going to start in February, right? And all we're hearing is people pointing fingers. And I don't care what side of the aisle, who do you think is right or who do you think is wrong. At the end of the day, in my personal opinion, they're more concerned with keeping and getting their job than they are making sure our lives are different, right? And as long as they have someone else to blame, they have a better chance of getting their job. Right? So that no one's going to show up and fix this problem, except a group of us that says, what if there was a way to change it? And that's what you saw Wade talk about. That's what you saw Robert talk about. And that's really, really, really vital. Now, I've been in Primerica for 18 years. I ran my business very specifically one way for a long, long time. And something shifted a couple of years ago. And we said, you know what? I want to make sure that we function from integrity of everything we do. And I love what we did before as products and services, unbelievable. But it's really a fascinating thing, right? We show this access gap, and we talk about the wealthy have access and the not so wealthy, and we're gonna close that gap, which I believe is incredibly vital and incredibly important. Here's the dilemma, right? I'm 42 years old. I've got a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, and 6-month-old twins. The idea of my grandkids, my great-grandkids being wealthy is awesome. right? The ability to think about being above that fireplace is magical. But there's one really important factor to that picture. I'm dead. By the time I'm in that picture on my grandkids' house, I'm dead. That does not sound fun. So we said, if we're going to really do this, if we're going to walk into a room of 3 people or 3,000 people, we're going to come from strength with everything we do. And we said, not only do we have to have a 2 to 3 generation game plan, because that's fundamentally important, it's vital, it's game changer for everyone in our community, because here's what I know, American Express, Dean Witter are not coming to our neighborhood on purpose. They have GPS now. They don't even have to ask for questions, right? They're just getting right or wrong, right? So we said, but if we're really going to do it, a 2 to 3 generation plan isn't enough. We have to have a 1 generation plan. If you're going to be in this room, right, and say, look, we want to be able to talk about this change, we have to be able to say the change can happen for you. Does it have to? No. Is it easy? Not necessarily. But the opportunity is in a place so that the person that says something inside them says, I want to do something different, they can take advantage of it. See, that's my job, is to talk about a 1 generation plan. And the only way in this country is ownership. Not Primerica ownership. That's a good way, and I'm going to talk about it. It's not the only way. And I always talk about that because every once in a while some guys, Primerica, no. But what you've got to do is you've got to figure out how to own something if we want a 1 generation plan. Why? Because business ownership gives us access to revenue. We can increase our income. Most of us can't go to our job and tell our boss, hey, we need to make an extra $5,000 this month. Can you pay it to me? Right? Most of our jobs don't give us that ability, right? So we can't control our revenue. Most of us at our job don't get paid for the work we did before, right? There is no passive income, right? We did all this work before. We don't get paid on that. The company continues to grow, but we don't. And most of us can't duplicate ourselves, develop profit. When we train somebody at our job, do they pay us more money? No. Is the company more profitable? Yeah, there's someone else who can do what you do, but you don't get that pay. See, the reason ownership is critical is we have to have access to revenue increase, we have to have access to passive income, and we have to have access to profit. If we don't, we're never going to get free in 1 generation. So we said, all right, if we understand that, what is our solution? We're going to stand in a room of 3 or 3,000. We've got to have a solution. 1, we've got to be able to harness that entrepreneurial spirit. There's something inside some of us that says, I don't want to feel like this anymore. When I met Wade a long time ago, right, he was an attorney and going through, and he looked at me, and I'll never forget this. He goes, man, I used to drive around and say, if someone would just show me what to do, I'd do it. There's the spirit and the opportunity, but most of us don't know what to do. So we can have the greatest spirit in the world, but without that spirit, nothing's going to happen. We've got to have a leverageable support system. Why? Because most of us don't have the training. We don't have the education, we don't have the resources, we don't have the 7 generations of business ownership, right? They say most small businesses fail. In the first 80% of most small businesses fail in the first 2 years. Why? Because the entrepreneur is lazy? No. Because they don't work hard or they don't love what they're doing? No. They run out of, traditionally, they run out of capital, money, before they figure out all the mistakes they're making. Because if you're opening up a dry cleaner, you can't call the dry cleaner down the street and say, hey, how'd you survive the tough times? Because you're direct competition to them, they are not going to help you. So all of a sudden we have conflict. So we said, man, we need a leverageable support system so we can provide the resources and education so that the entrepreneurs with that spirit can actually take advantage of the spirit they've got. And then the reality, guys, is we need a transitional path. We need a way to maintain our income and go do something else. This could be the greatest meeting in the world. If you went home and talked to your spouse and said, I'm going to quit my job and go do something I've never done before, they should think something weird happened. We have responsibilities. We got bills. There's things we need to do. And if we've never been an entrepreneur, there's things we got to learn. So we said, man, we need to create a safe place where people can maintain the security of their job and shift the mindset. Every once in a while, someone comes to me and they go, my job is my problem. I go, no, it's not. When you got it, did they tell you what they were going to pay you? Yes. Did they tell you what you were going to have to do? Yes. Did they tell you the hours? Yes. Well, then why are you complaining? Because you said yes to all 3 of those, didn't you? Now, what we can do is we can let our job pay us to learn how to leave. We can let our job, we can show up, we can do the work we need to do, and then we can, on our off time, learn how to be an entrepreneur, learn how to build something, work with somebody else. Our job can literally pay us to create freedom in our life if our job isn't the enemy. It's the resource that we need. Y'all seem like serious. Like, we can talk fantasy football. I got a couple drafts coming up this weekend if we want. We can just scrap this thing. Right? My wife has her own team with my youngest son, so it's the first time we're going against each other. So I was doing some research today, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh God, do I have to tell her? Like, what do we do? So I'll tell her on Sunday after the draft. No excitement? Wow. All right. Move on to the presentation then. No. So we said, so this is what we had to do. So we said, okay, what is this about? Why are you here? Well, we are a business incubator designed on purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. That's what we do. I met with 7 people today. All of them were talking about how to grow a business. What are the skills? What are the resources? What are the tools? What is the thinking? What are the fundamentals? How do we do it? What do we do today? What do we do 6 weeks from now, 6 months from now? I've been here 18, 19 years. My wife's been in business for 20 years. Together, we got 30 or 40 years of business experience. We said, man, if we could leverage that. I was sitting with Isaac earlier. He's been here for 3 days. I go, man, if you could gather up 50 years of business experience over the next 6 to 12 months, what could you do? Most of us reinvent the wheel. No, we said, man, we're going to leverage the resources and tools that we've got because there's a huge problem. Look, guys, whenever you do this in any business, and some of you might go, well, why am I here? Well, the reality is we wanted a place for everybody. I am a professional recruiter. My job is to recruit you tonight. How am I doing? Am I doing good? But see, and that's all of a sudden people, and I don't do that every week because it makes people uncomfortable, but every once in a while I do it because it makes people uncomfortable. You're like, wait a second, you're here to recruit me. Yeah, I am. You see value in what we're teaching. You think people should know it. Because the reality, guys, can you understand and support the mission that we're on? My job is to recruit people to Alex. There's 70 million families that are stuck, and we're not going to solve this problem by ourselves. Tonight's not about you buying anything. Tonight's not about you joining anything necessarily, but it's about realizing that there's a legitimate problem out there, and we got a viable solution. That it's never going to get fixed on our own, but if we can get people passionate about realizing that there's a change, good things can start to happen. Is it asking too much if the person that brought you when the meeting's over for you to go, man, that's pretty cool what you're doing? Is that too much? You can do that, right? We've done so far. Great. All of a sudden we got an ally meeting. So no, right? Now, the reality though is there's some of us in the room that as you are hearing Robin talk, and you're thinking about someone who just had a baby or someone who just got ready to retire, you're talking away, you're listening away, you're talking about the solutions. You're like, oh my God, they need this or they need that. Or we're talking about this. And there's different people that pop into our head because you know that they don't know this stuff. And so we said, look, if you knew great people that wanted to do something special, would you recommend them to talk about what we're doing? If there was someone that you knew that wasn't making enough money, they were ambitious, they were focused, they had that entrepreneurial spirit, they were stuck, but there was a way to do something. Is this the type of people you go like, man, you got to know them? Because if so, you're an advocate. See, we realize something. Every business in America has to grow. How do you grow? Well, you can put $1 billion worth of commercials on TV. Who pays for those commercials? The client of the company. The people that are already clients pay so that the company can get more business. Isn't that fun? Right? Would you like to say 15% or more on your car insurance? Of course. Geico spent $1.7 billion last year in advertising. Think about this. $1.7 billion in advertising last year. You know what that means? That 30% of the premiums paid by the Geico clients were paid extra so that Geico could go get more Geico clients. If they were really interested in saving you more, they would say, we don't need 1.8 billion. Why don't we have 300 grand and save you that 28%? But they're in the business of growing. And there's nothing wrong with that because that's the only way we know Geico. But what if there was a way to save that money? What if there was a way for a grassroots movement? What if there was a way for the same people that need the same help, but instead of really cool cavemen and really cool animatronics, there was someone that said, man, you got to talk to somebody. These are passionate people that are focused and have access to amazing products and services, amazing companies that want a shot to do something else. Together, we can start to make a fundamental change. And this is just a personal question. If you found something that was real, that was credible, that was in alignment with who you were, where you could make a real impact and accomplish your wants, would you be open to it? See, those are personal questions. When I walked through the door, I was graduating from UCLA, so I'm going to Stanford. I had no interest in financial services. I was listening to the meeting, and I'm like, man, I didn't care about insurance. I didn't care about investments. I didn't care about debt. I had a lot of debt, no money saved, and I was 22. You're never going to die. The products and services didn't mean a whole lot to me. I was here. Everyone was just excited. They were high-fiving and hugging. They were just weird. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are they so excited about financial services? And I heard a speaker talk about the shot. If you had a shot to do what it is you wanted to do, what would stop? See, I love making an impact, and I wanted to build freedom for my family. I go, man, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, sign me up. And started doing some research, started looking at some things, and I realized some things. Right? There's some really important questions in business. There's lots of questions that we got to ask if you're going to go into business, but the first four, if you can't clear the first four, you shouldn't get to 5. It's what's your market, what's your competition, what's the need, and what's the opportunity. If you can't clear those 4 questions, you shouldn't get to 5. Well, someone told me, said, man, Penny, if we present an opportunity where the market was 70 million families, essentially everybody, if you had a business that could solve a problem for everybody, do we think we could be successful? Probably. Let's say that you had a business where there was literally 0 competition. Well, Fred, what do you mean 0 competition? Well, how many of you think the banks are here to get you up? How about the insurance companies? They want you protected? How about the lenders? They want you out of debt? Aren't those the 3 industries that this group of people start to turn to? So if you had a business where the market was everybody and the competition was nobody, should you be able to be a little bit successful? Now, what's the need? If you live, do you need to save? If you die, do you need to protect? And if you're trying to live, do you need to plan? So whether you like it or not, the need is vital, right or wrong. So if you had a business where the market was everybody, the competition was none, the need was vital, do you think you could be successful? Now it comes down to capital. What if you had a $3 billion venture capitalist that says you can build as big as you want, our checks never bounce, and we'll support you, make sure we provide every resource you need? Now let's think about this for a second. Market is everybody. Competition is none. The need is vital, and the opportunity is literally unlimited. Do you think if you were passionate about changing your situation, the opportunity would be available? That's what we wanted to be a part of. The reason you're here today is that somebody wanted you to understand what they were doing and an opportunity that's possible. Where do you fit? Whether it's as an ally, as an advocate, or as an associate, we're not going to solve this problem alone. The single most important thing we can do is to let everybody understand why we do what we do. Now, the last part of this is we need to grow as a company, right? 20 of us aren't going to change the world. But 20 of us could easily grow to 50, couldn't we? And 50 then could grow to 100, and 100 could grow to 500, 500 could grow to 1,000. If we were focused on it, we got a shot. Sooner or later, critical mass comes in, and we got a group of us saying we got a real shot to at least change our community, possibly change our city, with an opportunity to change our state. And the feasibility changes the country, because no one else is going. Now, if you had a business that changed the country, do you think you're going to change your world? Economically, those are aligned things. So we said, okay, well, what does it mean? Well, if we want to attract great people, we need low capital interest. Why? Because we know that we don't have $500,000. To get licensed through the state of California, it's a couple $1,000. Primerica says, you cover the background check, we'll pay for all the licenses. We don't get paid a time to recruit you, and hopefully that $100 isn't the reason we don't get started. We build a partnership now. Why? Because I have limited interest in financial services. And I know most people don't dream about beta coefficients and standard deviations. They hear that the market's going up or going down, and they don't know what that means. And the idea of being that expert scares the hell out of them. We said, but what if we knew 2,000 really smart people, then that's what they love. And what we had to do is connect people to them, because no one else has access to them. We can give them great resources, and we don't have to be there. We got an unbelievable back office that says, man, we got to make sure that client services and associate development and marketing and events and resources all need to be done, but we don't know how to do that. So we got the partnership alignment to do it. So we get to grow all this. She said, man, if we could build a real partnership model, we have a shot to attract great people that want to do something. And then at the end of the day, it's got to be worth it. We got the greatest idea in the world. We got the greatest solution in the world. If it's not worth your time and energy, can we all agree it's probably not going to get done? I mean, we all love helping people, right? But we love helping our family more. And there's nothing wrong with that. Look, when your economics are in place, we have the ability to focus on helping other people. When our economics aren't in place, it's hard to think past the next step. So whether it's an ally, an advocate, or an associate, not only is there a place for everybody, but we want a role for all of us. So I'm going to take a couple minutes, and I want to be able to make sure that we understand this associate line, because it's not only for the full-time, the person who wants to get things. We said, no, we actually need to create a space for everybody. So we have one of my favorite places we call a GAP, a Gathering Asset Partner. Why? Because there's a tremendous need. 10,000 people are turning 65 years old every day for the next 19 years. This is the first generation that's ever had access to a 401k or an IRA. All of their parents have pensions. Well, why is this important? When someone turns 65 years old and they get a pension, they get a check for $2,100. And the next month they get a check for $2,100. And the next month they get a check for $2,100. It feels a lot like their income. They've been managing their income for 40 years. They know how to do that. But when there's no pensions, and instead of pensions, they have a piece of paper that says you have $411,000 on it. These are people that have made between $25,000 and $100,000. Have they managed $485,000 before? Have they talked to the financial advisors? Do they have any clue how to get the resources they need so that they don't run out of money? No, they look at $400,000 and they go, oh shit, that's a lot of cash. But they're also stressed going, how are we going to do it? And they don't know how to talk to this group of people. What if there was a group of people that could say, look, here's what we know. We know it's about locking in advances. We know it's about developing habits. We know it's about leveraging experts and cultivating strategic partnerships. We have an unbelievable strategic partner that's got a 30-year, 40-year track record of making sure we've got the right services for you for half the cost of the industry. I'm going to give you the resources, and I don't got to be the expert, but man, I got to connect you to it. If we had people that loved what they did, they had no interest in building business, but they were just good at reaching a group of people, and they got licensed. But $1 million of assets under management to our gaps pays about $4,300 a year. That's $3,800 so $380 a month. Now here's what I know: $300 isn't going to change your life. But if all of you had an extra $300 in your account, how many of you would be a little bit happier? Here's what I get excited about. Let's say someone starts with us when they're 55. And between 55 and 65, spare time, they help 2 families a year. And they find $500,000. Cousin rolls over. Old people that they were, old folks that the old employees they used to work with, just roll over from their 401k to their IRAs. Don't do anything else. Don't come to meetings. They get licensed and they just let people know, I know where to go. $5 million in assets under management is $1,800 a year, $1,800 a month of passive income. The average Social Security, the average person starts working when they're 22 years old. The average person retires at 67, and the average Social Security check is $1,269. If someone started with us and spare time just built assets, literally make more money than Social Security. Not a financial advisor, not someone that's great at asset allocation. Someone says, I know these people, and no one good is going to talk to us. We've got some part-timers. There are people that are nurses and doctors and I don't know, a lot of lawyers that want to love what they do, but there's teachers and there's firemen that love what they do. And so they got into that business because that's the impact that they love. The problem is they can't make enough money to do the things that they want to do, so it's a sacrifice. Most of us in this country have to do an or philosophy. Do I make a bunch of money, or do I do what I want to do? Do I make an impact the way I want to? And unfortunately, most of us have to make this or choice. And so the question is, what if someone could do what they love doing and make enough money to complement their lifestyle? So he said, man, if someone made an extra $500 or $1,000 a month, one night a month, getting licensed, changing people's lives, we got a shot to make a difference in the lives that they're touching and in their own. There could be some that say, yes, I'm not one of those that loves my job. I do it, I like what I do because I'm there and I make enough money, but if I could ever make enough money to leave my job, if I could make more money somewhere else, owning my own business rather than having a boss, having a review, having someone else tell me what I'm worth, that could be fun. And so he said, look, let's transition it. Let's turn your job into your cover fire. Let's let your job pay you to learn how to be an entrepreneur. And then there are some entrepreneurs. There are some folks that say, I want to leverage passive income, revenue, and profit. So my job is I'm going to kind of bring this last thing together. But here's the thing, whether someone's a gap, a part-timer, or a part-time to full-time, or an entrepreneur, there's no good or bad, it's just the space. And I go, man, in my life, I've had opportunities and mindsets to be in different places. But as an entrepreneur, it's nice. But look, passive income. You create $15 million of assets under management. It's an extra $8,300 a month. It's funny. I've been in business for a while. About 2 weeks ago, I had a client of mine call me and go, hey, I just sold a house. My kids had it. I bought it for them, and then they defaulted on it. So I took over. I had to sell it, and I got an extra $100,000. Can you come pick it up? I'm like, okay. Hey, 5, 10, 20-minute conversation. Showed up. Hey, what's going on? Hugs and high fives. What's going on? Oh, my stupid kids. I can't believe they did this. Can't believe I did that. I know, but I remember when we did this, and we said, man, you thought if you could just break even, things would be good. I know, isn't that fun? You did a nice thing, and you walked with $100,000. She's like, yeah, it's great. I go, great. Let's go ahead and let's just building assets. It's an opportunity to change somebody's life. That's an extra $8,300 in passive income. You build a team. I had a great conversation again with Tony and Isaac there. We're talking about finding assets and going through. But man, if I teach 30 people how to have $1 million of assets alone, that's an extra $100,000 of passive income. You build a team, there's 20 of us in the room. If each of us have one family a month, not one family a day, that would be great too. I'm not putting limitations. You're all allowed to do that. There's 70 million families that are stuck. Some of us might get inspired. But that's an extra 150 to 200,000. And then my favorite, this is what I do. This is what I love. I like profit. See, if I build a really big group of people, if I build an army of folks that go out and help families, that's great. But then it's only dependent upon me. If I get sick, if I get tired, things go hard, all of a sudden direction goes. We said, no. What if we can teach people how to be entrepreneurs? And we can align their goals. You show somebody, right? You build a team that helps 30. They just do half. Now, again, that's not a requirement. They can do more than half. But I'm a big believer in under-promising and over-delivering. You help them teach how to do that. They make an extra $150,000 a year. But for every one you develop, the company pays you $6,200 a month, or about $72,000 a year. Now, I am not the greatest guy at math, but here's what I figured out. If over the next 5 to 7 years, we found 1, that's 72. 2 is 144. 3 is 210. 4 is 280. And 5 is $350,000 a year in profit. So if over the next 5 to 7 years, maybe you start out gap part-time, maybe part-time full-time, you say, man, this is something I want to try, and you realize you like it. You realize that there's lots of people that need help, and you start learning how to be an entrepreneur. You start growing. You develop a little team, you get promoted to vice president. You start growing a team that helps 15 families a month, and you start making $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month. All of a sudden, you're like, man, if I could do this, maybe I could teach somebody else how to do it. While you're doing that, you're developing assets because there's $1 trillion that no one's talking to. You gather assets, you teach other people how to do it, you build a team, and you find one person that says, man, I want to be this entrepreneur as well. And you go, man, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. All I got to do is teach you what I was taught. This isn't about something new. This is like, hey, here's step 1. Do you do step 2? But as soon as you do step 2, can't you teach someone step 1? Now, if you teach someone step 1, as you learn step 2, you can learn step 3. Now you can teach someone step 1, step 2, and all of a sudden you got a bunch of 1s and 2s. But if over the next 5 to 7 years you did that, that's passive income revenue, that's $750,000 a year. Is everyone going to do it? No. Can everyone? Yeah. But whether it's a gap to an entrepreneur, there's lives being touched everywhere here. I walked into a room 18 years ago and said I wanted a shot. Used to play ball, right, as a kid, or talking right as a kid, they told you to go out and play. You remember that? Your parents go, get out of here, would you go play? Ever have that? And then one day they said, when are you going to get serious? And you're like, but yesterday you told me to go play. I'm confused. Well, now you got to grow up. Well, that sucks. I walked in the room, I go, what if we had a shot to play and change people's lives? What if we could stand in a gap when no one else is coming? See, whether it's as an ally, an advocate, or an associate, there's a place for everyone and a role for all of us. There's something here. You're here at the right moment. You're here right now Because there's a shot. There's somebody in this room that wants to do something special. There's somebody that you know that wants to do something special. Or there's somebody that's here that's trying to do something special that needs a high five and a hug from you. Say, keep on keeping on. Tonight's not about creating anything other than the fact that the understanding that there's a real problem out there, and there's a group of us that says, not on our watch. We're going to go into the neighborhoods that no one else is going to show up in. We're going to have the conversations that no one else is going to have. You know why? Because it's important. Because we can make a difference. And the fun thing is, we get to make a difference changing the world, but we also get to make a difference changing lives. And that combination is worth it. So, one of the things we don't have any celebrations today. So it's the first time in a while we haven't had recognition. We had folks that were getting close. We talk about this, right? But we're going to be back here next. I think it's the 3rd. It's next Wednesday night. We're back here on Saturday mornings, jeans and t-shirts. If something triggered you, if you're interested, get together with the person that brought you. If you're not interested, get together with the person that brought you. Get the information. It is not okay to not have a financial needs analysis. It's not okay. Look, guys, a lot of us like to play this victim role in our country, and I'm not saying it's you, but it might be person sitting next to you, right? Where I didn't know. They never told me. And that's true. The wealthy have no interest in us creating wealth because our income is supposed to buy their products. And the not so wealthy have no interest in us not paying the taxes to take care of it. So the system is set up for us to be there. And so we could say, I never knew. Tonight, you can't say that. Now we get to decide, what step do we want to take? Get together the person who brought you, get to know the mission. If something triggered, great. If not, great. But we're going to be back here on the 3rd. We'd love to have you here. And maybe, just maybe, there's someone you know that needs to hear this. Not do it, not buy, not just, but needs to hear it. And you might try to go to explain it, and they're going to look at you like you got a third eyeball. When you look at them and go, I don't understand, go, just come. Because great things can start to happen if the team gets together. So guys, I want to thank you for coming. If there's any questions, we'll be around. Have a great night. Thank you very much. Oh, it's the second next week, not the 3rd. Wednesday, right? Wednesday. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.